can't save him.
Hey everyone, I'm Sebastian from Cinemageddon Reviews, and here I am making another First Impressions video, this time on A Quiet Place Part 2. Now, I was a huge fan of the first movie when it came out in 2018. I remember doing a really crappy vlog talking about it, where I did the whole thing talking like this, because the whole point was that if you made any noise, then the fucking monsters will kill you. And it was a really stupid video that, honestly, looking back at it now, was even sillier than I anticipated, especially since I ended the whole thing with me screaming at the end before it got at the end of it, even though the whole thing was supposed to be scripted, and I was basically making noises on the fucking car like this, making it look like there was noises happening outside. It was really dumb, but, you know, it was part of the course for Cinemageddon back in the day. So, what is the story of A Quiet Place? Well, everything is fine and then aliens show up. There's your story. Okay, so that's not really the gist of the whole movie. The point isn't the quote-unquote story, it's how these characters are able to go around this world now that humanity as we know it has pretty much been fucked ever since the arrival of these demon-looking monsters from Dead Space. And yes, I will die on that hill where I say that the monsters from A Quiet Place look like they were taken directly from fucking Dead Space. You cannot tell me otherwise. Just look at these things. Tell me they don't look the same. Anyways, the movie takes place directly after the events of the first movie, where Evelyn Abbott, played once again by Emily Blunt, is taking care of her children now that her husband Lee, played by John Krasinski, is no longer around to save the day. This is actually a really good opportunity for both her and her children to be able to learn how to defend themselves now that the patriarch is out of the picture. This is a really intense movie, almost as intense as the first movie, if not more. I think what really helped set things even more intense than anything was just how claustrophobic and scary the cinematography was. For the first few minutes of this movie, we are seeing everything as if it were day one of the invasion or the encounter, whatever you want to call these things coming out of nowhere, which, based on what we saw in the trailer and what I saw in the movie itself, looked like they came out of a fucking meteor and landed on Earth. And we get to see how all of this happens in real time on the first day, while we see the events happening and unfolding in the most chaotic way possible via tracking shot. I love tracking shots in movies, and this one did it so well, it left me feeling scared at any moment, no matter what. It was like something that Roger Deakins would have done. It looks so fucking good. What really made it good was just how it made everything look so much more scary than it had any right to be. It literally felt like you were right there with them as the whole thing was unfolding. It was one of the scariest and most intense moments I've ever seen for any horror movie ever. One thing that this movie does a lot better than the first movie is how it introduces the monsters for the first time for anybody who has never seen the first movie. This is actually a really weird film when you think about it. It almost feels like an origin story, but it's supposed to be a direct sequel. So we get an intro, but we also get a continuation. We start from the beginning of the invasion, which is on day 1, to day 474, I believe, where we end with the first movie, and we are now in the second part of the film. And let me get this right off the bat. I never in a million years felt my ass clenching with fear the way that this movie did. Not just with those first few minutes of the movie where the majority is all in a tracking shot. The whole movie feels like not only are the characters on edge, but you are as well. I have never felt this much stress and anxiety since watching the first movie and having to remember that there's a freaking tack under the floorboard in the basement. God damn it. Now, I'm not going to get into too many specifics here. I want to save that for my Stories from the Wasteland video. But one thing that I want to get across is how this movie improves on the first one's success. The first movie was a social commentary on parenthood, and this one is, in my opinion at least, a social commentary on growing up. Now that the patriarch is out of the picture, the kids have to follow up on his footsteps and have to learn to defend not just themselves, but their family. if I remember correctly, in the first movie, Lee was teaching his son, Marcus, how to be able to defend himself and his mom. He was actually taking him over to the waterfall where he is able to learn how to scavenge and survive. And one of the few lines that I remember from that movie was she was telling him that he's here to teach you how to survive, not just for yourself, but also to protect me. And we get to see the evolution of this as it plays out here. He starts off very, very scared and very weak. He gets crippled very, very early on in the movie due to something that happens in the beginning when they're trying to get away from the monsters. And we slowly but very surely get to see him grow from a scared little boy into a fucking man halfway through the end of the film. And it is absolutely wonderful seeing this development play through, especially considering that we didn't get to see a whole lot of him in the first movie. The first film was mostly dedicated to Lee and his wife trying to do the best with their children, trying to help bring in a new child into a world where, for lack of a better term, no children should be born into. And watching all of this, you just feel nothing but sympathy, and it makes it feel like he's the underdog in the story, and you want to see him prevail no matter what. It is absolutely wonderful. But he's not the only one who gets little bits of character development. Millicent Simmons comes back as Reagan, the deaf daughter from the first movie, who speaks throughout the majority of the film with American Sign Language. Here, she speaks in American Sign Language, but she's also able to speak words. Very softly, very slowly, she can speak words, she can mutter them, despite the fact that both the character and the actor are both legally deaf in real life. I love seeing every moment that she's on screen, not only because she's just a really good actor overall, but the way that she handles scenes by herself, especially considering that for the majority of this movie, we are basically seeing her having to take the big boy role of her father and learning to survive and scavenge, just like her brother is. But what we're also seeing here is the evolution of someone who doesn't just want to protect her family, but wants to protect others. And this comes into play with another character that gets introduced into this movie, that being the character of Emmett, played by Cillian Murphy, who we get to see in the beginning of the movie as one of Lee's friends. He is absolutely distrustful of everybody he comes across, including the Abbotts. He says, you guys can stay here for a little while, but you guys gotta get the hell out of Dodge afterwards, because I cannot have any people in here, because nobody can be trusted in this environment. And honestly, I completely sympathize with him in a situation like this, because we get to see how ugly humanity can diverge into when faced with a terrible situation such as this one. He is absolutely killing it in this role. He's already killed it before in multiple roles before this. I loved him in Sunshine, he was wonderful in Inception, and he was also fucking terrifying as the Scarecrow in the Dark Knight movies. I really think that he was giving the best performance of his career with this particular movie though, because I don't think I've ever seen him this emotionally devastated since maybe 28 Days Later. Which, by the way, can we please get a Blu-ray version of that movie that doesn't fucking suck? Thank you. Now, I have a lot more things to say about it, but I'm gonna save that for my Stories from the Wasteland video. For now, I'm just gonna say this. I really, really enjoyed this movie a lot more than I expected to. I don't think there's ever been a movie that I was this hyped up for, especially for a horror movie. A PG-13 horror movie produced by Platinum Dooms of all things. I should not have been this excited, and this movie should not have been that good. Nor should the first one, for that matter. But it was, and I love it so much, and I cannot wait to start talking more about it when I do my Stories from the Wasteland video. But for now, let me just say this. If you haven't seen the movie yet, go check it out. It is worth the wait. I promise you, you are gonna love it. For the love of God though, turn off your cell phone when you're in the movie theater. People are watching it, and you can't pause the movie to go to the bathroom. I cannot believe I had to say that. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching, and if you like what you see here and you want to see more, then be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. And if you want to support the show, then check out our Patreon page for bonus content and exclusive rewards, including the chance to be able to request for a movie or show for us to review in the future. As always, I'm Sebastian from Cinemageddon Reviews signing out, and I'll see you on the Wasteland.